let's turn the page to week number 8 as we look to our week 8 games and pick them. Let's start with the 11 a.m. game, the Battle of the Tigers, Auburn at number 19, Missouri. Auburn is coming off of the bye week, and they need a win desperately. Going on the road to an environment that's definitely going to be rowdy as a number 19, Missouri. Bounce back after getting blown out in College Station, 45-3 win against UMass. And if you watch them entering the locker room, it looks like they were entering a middle school locker room instead of a college locker room. So Auburn, Missouri, who you got in this one?
I know that you can't look too far into the UMass game, but I think Missouri found out a little bit about their offense and what they want to do.
Beat Luther Burden. That's what they found out.
Yep. You got the future first rounder on your team, and whatever you got to do to get in his head to play to his ability, you got to do. So I think Missouri takes this. They just have way too many weapons to lose to a team like Auburn.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Missouri. Auburn's a team that just hasn't shown much, and usually I like to pull these road upsets. But, I mean, the way that this Auburn team's been moving the ball, it's not going to be able to keep up with Missouri. Missouri, I know it's UMass, but they really needed that one after getting punched in the mouth to put up 40 points against UMass. Just Brady Cook, he found his rhythm again. So if they can win this one, get some momentum going into the Alabama game, so give me Missouri. Jets going to go with Missouri there. So we're all rolling with the Tigers against the Tigers. So now let's go on to the next one, South Carolina at Oklahoma. This is definitely a weird matchup that I haven't seen in quite some time, as South Carolina coming off of a tough loss again. Back-to-back losses for the Gamecocks, Oklahoma. This feels like two teams that desperately need a win as well, as we'll get into another game that feels the same. So South Carolina, Oklahoma. You going to go with the road team, or do you think that the Sooners get a victory at home here?
I like the timing for Oklahoma. I mean, South Carolina has played 3 really tough games in a row now, including this one and the Alabama one on the road. But South Carolina has also really impressed me in all of those games minus the Ole Miss one. And I just think luck has to go their way. So I'm going to go with the Gamecocks. Originally, I had picked Oklahoma to win this game. But after seeing what South Carolina did against Alabama and what they did against LSU, something's got to bend in their direction. Yeah. And Oklahoma, they're still figuring out a lot in their own right. So I think this game's going to be kind of sluggish. You got 2 mobile dual threat quarterbacks. And I just think that a lack of overall weapons on the perimeter will just make this game very run focused for both teams. But give me South Carolina on a wacky special teams play. I mean, I'm picking this game to be really low scoring. I think it's going to be like 23-17 South Carolina.
Yeah, it's going to be a low-scoring game where both defenses are going to have their way, and somebody on offense is going to have to make a big play, and it'll probably come down to the running backs, as both quarterbacks haven't been playing too well. I'll probably have to assume it'd be Michael Hawkins. I don't know if they're going to go back to Jackson Arnold. They've been going back and forth, it feels like, all season. But I know that you said that South Carolina ultimately is going to win this game. They need a big win, but so does Oklahoma. I'm just going to go with the home team here. These are 2 evenly matched teams. I just think that Oklahoma coming back home after getting punched in the mouth against Texas, so they're going to regroup, and this defense is going to step up to the challenge and get a late pick or a late fumble or a late interception to seal this one. So give me the Sooners. And Chet's also going with South Carolina, so I'm the lone Oklahoma. So that could definitely tail the tail there on their pick'em results. So we'll see how this game goes down. I'll definitely be excited to watch this one at 2:30. Now let's go on to the next one. This is not our SEC talk game of the week. We have a bigger one, but this is still a big one for college football playoff implications for both of these teams, especially since Alabama and Tennessee already have one loss. Number 7, Alabama at number 11, Tennessee. We saw last year Tennessee get out fast, but Alabama ultimately won the game the last time this game was in Knoxville. It was one of the crazier college football games that you ever seen. So what fireworks will we get on this season's edition of Alabama and Tennessee?
Maybe not that many, with the way that Alabama's offense has kind of sputtered as of late, and Tennessee's defense remains really top notch. And I'm going to go ahead and claim this to be the get back game for Nico. I mean, we've seen far inferior quarterbacks, or at least guys that we think are inferior to Nico, light it up against Alabama. I'm not saying he's going to throw for 350 yards, but I think he'll be in control of the game. I think he'll move the ball down the field and throw for at least 2 touchdowns in this one. And what Tennessee can do with their defense and with Dylan Sampson is just keep the ball out of Jalen Milroe's hands. I mean, just run the clock on offense and then rely on that.
What South Carolina did.
What's that?
That's what South Carolina and pretty much Vanderbilt have done. So they might just steal that game plan again.
You got a way better running back than both of those teams, and you have a better quarterback. So if you can get those guys in balance, the game plan's right there, like you said. So I'm going to bet on Tennessee to figure that out. And if they can't, then I'm writing this team off for the rest of the season. It's do or die for Tennessee. For Alabama, I mean, you got the big win on your resume against Georgia. That certainly helps. But if you lose, I mean, your playoff hopes are definitely in doubt with the 2 losses.
For sure. I mean, the loser of this one, they're going to have to go perfect the rest of the way if they do want to make the college football playoff. Because if you feel like, if you're 10-2 in the SEC, you're probably safe. But 9-3, you're definitely out of it. The way that the rest of the college football landscape is shaping out, because there's going to be a lot of one-loss teams. There are not going to be too many undefeated teams as long as either Oregon or Texas ends up running the table. But these are 2 evenly matched teams. Tennessee is definitely going to try and run the ball. Maybe they'll steal Vanderbilt's and South Carolina's game plan and just handing Dylan Sampson the ball because if Alabama can't stop the run, then that's exactly what Tennessee is going to do. But I think that Nico, if Tennessee is going to win this one, Nico is going to have himself a good game. But Alabama side, Jalen Milroe definitely has to step up in this one. Ryan Williams, we didn't really hear too much about him in the South Carolina game. He feels like a big piece if Alabama is going to win this one. But Tennessee was one of my dark horse teams heading into the season, and I had this game circled. And before the season, I had Tennessee winning this one, and nothing's changed. I'm definitely on the fence with both of these teams. They haven't really impressed me in the past couple of weeks, but I'm going to go with Tennessee in a low-scoring game, like 24-21, going to be a close battle. And this is not good at all. We're all going with Tennessee, so congratulations, Alabama, on your victory, as we're all picking Tennessee to win this one. So let's go on now to the next one, number 14, Texas A&M at Mississippi State. Mississippi State coming off of a tough loss on the road in Athens against Georgia. Texas A&M, they're fresh off of the bye week. Mississippi State was just off of the bye week before they returned to play Georgia. So Texas A&M, do you have them continuing their winning streak, or do you have Mississippi State getting their second win on the season?
I mean, this one has upset potential. Mississippi State looked pretty good with the freshman Van Buren at quarterback against Georgia. But I just don't trust that defense at all. And I think Texas A&M is a lot better on offense than I gave them credit for. So I think that A&M could air it out with Wagman. I think they could run it 25 times with Moss. However you want to skin the cat, I think they get it done. A&M has their eyes on that game against LSU next week. But as long as they don't look past Mississippi State here, I think that they'll be in business.
Yeah, the line here is 15 to the Aggies. So Vegas just doesn't see anything with this Mississippi State team. But they are improving. Van Buren, they're definitely found their guy moving forward. I feel like this offense is finding them identity. Coleman has definitely been their wide receiver to really target it. But their defense, like I mentioned, with Le'Veon Moss in the backfield, who knows how they're going to be able to stop them. So this might, like I said, this is why I feel like I know that Texas A&M's defense is good, but something tells me we always see a shootout between these two teams. And you know what? Give me the upset. Mississippi State's due for a big victory. So I think that, coming back at home, and they showed me, I mean, it's not like they got boat raced by Texas and Mississippi State at all. I know that Texas, they put up 31 on them, and then they put up 31 against Georgia. So I think that this offense is starting to find themselves. As long as their defense can at least get a couple of stops to make this game close, and I think that Mississippi State can pull off the unthinkable. because Texas A&M is like, all right, we just beat Missouri. We're walking into a team that's 1-5. We can win this one. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next week. And that's when Mississippi State gets you. So give me the huge upset. And Chet's not seeing any upsets as he's going with Texas A&M. So there you have it, back-to-back games where we're all picking, not picking the same teams with Texas A&M, Mississippi State there. So that will be a big one to watch in the standings. See if there's any more for this week. So Ball State at Vanderbilt. I'm guessing we're all going with Vanderbilt, especially you, since you're going their defense. I don't think that you'll be picking them if you see Ball State winning this one. So I'm guessing you're going to go with the Doors.
Going with the Doors. When's the last time we can say we're all going with the Doors?
Yeah, well, you can say it now because we're all going with the Doors against the Ball State Cardinals, who are a solid 2-4 on the season. They're definitely out of the Maction race. The Maction's definitely heating up. They're back on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so we will definitely have to keep an eye on who ultimately wins that conference. But Vanderbilt is just another one. Get to win and get back to maybe shocking the world as you got number 1 Texas coming into your building next week. So this is not really a tune-up. This is just to get ready for the next week and see if you can shock the world once again. So now let's go on to the next game, number 8, LSU at Arkansas, the battle for the Golden Boot. It feels like every time that these two teams match up comes down to the wire. Last year, it came down to Damian Ramos' field goal at the end, and then 2 years ago, it was 13-10, an ultimate slugfest. So where are we going to get from these two teams?
I think you're going to see a close game. I mean, I think this is one of the
It always is
underrated road trips. It used to be kind of the furthest north you would go in the conference. Everybody sees Arkansas on a map, but you forget that it's that the school itself is in the upper northwestern corner of the state, and it takes about 8 hours to get there from Baton Rouge. So it's definitely a longer trip than people think, with it being a border game. It always finds its way to be right after one of LSU's big victories or right before a big game. And well, what do you have? You have a Ole Miss upset and a game against A&M coming up next week. So I'm very wary of this one, but I do think LSU has more skill, player talent, and I think this team's going to edge it out. But I'm not sure what the spread is on this one, but I see it being less than a 7-point game.
LSU is 3.5 the last time that I checked.
I think that's pretty appropriate.
Yeah, it's pretty appropriate. I mean, it feels like every year it's like comes down to the last minute, whether that's a field goal or a late touchdown that a team needs. So both defenses have been playing pretty well. Last time we saw Arkansas, they really shut down the Tennessee offense, and in LSU, they honestly shut down the Ole Miss offense. I mean, they really struggled, especially in the second half. I know they got going in the first half, going up 10-0 in that game. So this is going to be another low-scoring game that LSU just going to have to get to. It's another, for LSU, like you mentioned, you bring up a good point. They are coming off an emotional win. Meanwhile, Arkansas, they're coming off of a bye, so they're going to be fresh. But we'll see if Taylor Green is going to be playing in this one, because that's going to be huge. Because if he doesn't,
that might change things.
Yeah, that could definitely change things. But I'm still going to go with LSU. I definitely think that this offense, the way that they've been rolling, I think that, Arkansas's defense is definitely going to step up for sure. But this is going to be like a 20-17 type of game, something like that. So give me LSU in a tight one, as it always is. And Chet is going to go with the Tigers. So all rolling with the purple and gold this week. And the next one is our SEC Talk game of the week. It's a night game in Austin, Texas. Number 5, Georgia at number 1, Texas. Could this be a preview of what we see in the SEC championship? Time will tell. So Georgia, Texas, I know that you're pretty high on Texas, so you're going to continue to pick the Longhorns here.
Yeah, I mean, they've given me no reason not to. And Georgia's defense is just
yikes.
I mean, I honestly don't think they're a top 5 defense in the league, and that's not because there's 4 teams really pushing at them for the top spot. I mean, the defense has just kind of been down across the board in the conference, and Georgia's definitely got a liability there. They're young. I think they have the talent to pull it together, but a road game in Austin's not the time they're going to do that.
Nope.
A veteran quarterback like Quinn Ewers, he knocked the rust off last week. They didn't.
He always does well in these type of big games too.
It's like he always. This is what he's meant for.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Texas too. This just feels like a Texas. I don't know what the line is. I feel pretty confident. I think that Texas just continues to roll here. I mean,
I think it's
Georgia,
going to
they
be a
got to get off to a
14-point win.
fast start because if they get down 20-0 against Texas, you're not gonna be able to do what you did against Alabama because once you get Texas rolling, it's hard to stop them. And like you mentioned, Georgia, their defense has been struggling the past couple of weeks. Outside of that Kentucky game, they gave up over 30. They gave up 40 to Alabama, and they almost gave up 40 again to Mississippi State. So what is going on with that defensive side? So I think that Texas wins this one pretty convincingly. I know it's a top 5 game, but Texas, I think they're just a better football team all around. So give me Texas at home. Jets going with Texas too. This is a big environment, but we're all picking Texas to win this top 5 battle. So this might another loss here with Georgia. I mean, they still got Ole Miss. They already have 2 losses after that one. That would definitely not be a good sign for Kirby Smart looking at the college football playoff. But for Texas, if they win this one, feels like they're just going to walk into the college football playoff at this point, the way that they're going. Let's go on to the next one, our final one here in week number 8, Kentucky at Florida, another rivalry game that we get at night. So you picking in this one? It feels like they just need one of these teams just really needs to win to get going here. So who you got between the Cats and the Gators?
I mean, historically, Kentucky's really struggled to go on the road and win in Florida. But I just think with the quarterback injury, I know Lagway's played some, but this is his first real, hey, I'm the guy. I don't have Mertz watching over my shoulder. And I think that could go one of 2 ways. I think he could really impress us, but I'm going to bank on the side that it takes some little time to grow. I'm going to go with Kentucky here on the road. I think last week's game showed more about Vanderbilt than it did Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky's gone on the road and beaten Ole Miss. They held their own against Georgia. So I don't think this team's too bad. I don't think they're that great, but I think they get it done.
So you're rolling with Big Blue. I'm not. I'm going to go with the other blue, go with Florida.
Lots of disagreements this week.
Yeah, there is. So I'm interested to see how the pick'em results are going to be. But I think that DJ Lagway, I've always said, I know I hate it for Graham Mertz, but, DJ Lagway, he definitely has an arm talent too. And he's able to if your first plays in there, he's able to beat you with his legs. So I think that this is going to be another defensive game. Wouldn't surprise me if we get literally the same score, like 20-13 that we saw last week's game with Kentucky in Vanderbilt. But both of these offenses just doesn't feel like they've been having to find an identity. Montreal Johnson, it feels like he's been quiet the past couple of weeks. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but give me the home team of Florida in this rivalry game that, like you mentioned, was dominated by Florida. And then past couple of years, Kentucky's been able to get a couple of wins. But give me the home team, go with the Gators. Jets going to go with Florida. So you're the lone Kentucky Wildcat on this one.